Hello everyone and welcome to Action RPG. I'm your host Aaron, and for today's video we're headed to the world of Last Epoch in my boot camp series. And what do I have for you today? How to scale your offense. Yes, I've been asked over and over again questions in Discord about what affixes actually help my character, how tooltips work, and today we're going to be talking about how to make your character stronger. Now, if you have any recommendations or something you want to see in a boot camp series, please leave it in the comment section or hit me up in Discord. I promise you I will read them. Now, what we're going to do is start off with tooltips. This is the quintessential, and this is your roadmap of how to make yourself stronger. So I am logged into my Primalist Druid, and we are going to go over to Maelstrom. This is like a core skill for the Primalist. Now, when you are looking at the tooltip, and if you don't know what a tooltip is, it is this square rectangular shaped thing in the middle. It basically gives you all the details about the said skill. And if you hit Alt, it makes it even bigger. Now it's actually a rectangle. And on here, it's going to tell you everything about the skill. Surrounds you with the freezing maelstrom that deals cold damage over time to nearby enemies. You can cast repeatedly to create multiple maelstroms at once. Each maelstrom lasts 7 seconds. And through the tree, you can always modify the said tooltip. Okay, and I'll explain in a second. So for this skill right now, it does 843 damage and it costs 14 mana. Now, what you really want to focus on is scaling tags. So on here, if you want to make your maelstrom stronger, and when I say stronger, I mean doing more damage, you would need affixes that are cold damage, spell damage, damage over time, area damage, and attunement. Now, I'm sorry, area won't actually make it stronger, it'll just make it bigger, okay? And then down here, it'll tell you what attunement actually does for it. So 207 or 4% damage per point of attunement. So since I have like 70 attunement on this character, that's going to give us 276% increased damage, and then gain 276 freeze rate multiplier also by that attunement. Okay, so attunement is going to give me 4% freeze rate, 4% damage. Now inside of the skill tree though, while you're clicking around and while you're putting in all your points, sometimes you can change the said skill. So down here in Maelstrom, you've got Cyclone. And as you can see, this is going to modify and change Maelstrom. And it's going to take it from a cold skill to a physical skill. Okay. So you see on here right now, it scales with cold and spell. Now, once I click this node and go back to it, it now scales with physical and spell. So you'll see that in real time, the tooltip will update based upon your clicks. So you got to be really careful, because let's say you want your maelstrom to be super duper strong and you've got 1000% to cold damage, but you took Cyclone. Well, cold no longer makes maelstrom stronger. Okay, so first tip, understand your tooltip, understand what stats actually do inside of said skill. Okay, now sometimes you have sub skills inside of your skill, which means your skill can do something. Now, something cool with Maelstrom, and we're just going to stick with this same skill, is over here you've got Power of the Storm, and this is lightning. Call forth a bolt of lightning to strike the area. Now, this sub skill is going to also have its own scaling tags. So you'll see in here, since I'm making a lightning tornado swarm blade, I actually don't care about the damage of Maelstrom. So for me, physical spell, damage over time, area, and attunement aren't important to me. What I really care about are the scaling tags inside of the sub skill. So on here, I want lightning percent to damage, spell, area, and attunement. Okay, so it's really cool that I can not focus on the main skill and just focus on the sub skill. But again, it's all about what you are doing. Okay, so make sure you are scaling your skills correctly based upon the tooltip. Now that you have a basic understanding on tooltips, let's actually jump into gear. Let's take a look at some weapons, and I'll try to explain affixes for you and what are the best ones you want to look for, okay? I've got 3 weapons out right now that I want you to focus on. This katana gives me melee damage. This dagger gives me base melee physical, and this two-handed spear gives increased physical damage. Now let's just say you were a melee physical fighter. Out of these 3, let's just say they were all daggers and you were playing a blade dancer. Which one would be the best for you? All right, you got a second to think? The best you would want would be this center one because it uses base damage, all right? This first one is a percentage of your base. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna take what your base is and then add 80% to it. And since it's a melee roll, that means that this is for fire melee or cold melee or void melee or any melee skill there is, this will boost. But since it's non-specific, it is gonna have a lower roll, okay? And when you look at this huge number, 255% to physical damage, that means that whatever your base is, you can add 255% to that, and that would be your actual damage. So it is really easy to scale percentages, but it's really hard to find base. Okay, so remember that. That's your starting point. If you are multiplying everything by 1, it's gonna be what that percentage is. But for example, if you're multiplying everything by 1 and then add 42 to it, so now you're multiplying everything by 43, you're gonna make, just the numbers will become huge, okay? So the point I'm trying to make is that when it comes to base damage, that always, shouldn't say always, that normally always comes first, okay? So this is an example affix of base melee physical damage. And then up here, I just have this sword on right now. This is an example of base spell damage. Right here, this sword gives plus 32 spell damage. Now, what you want to do is try and find combo items. All right, combo items. And I have 3 right here. This axe gives base melee physical and increased to physical. This sword gives base cold damage with increase to cold. And this void sword, which actually has a void base, gives base melee void and increase to void. Okay, so that's what you want, and not always. Like maybe sometimes you would want base, and then instead of getting the percentage, you could get crit rate or crit strike multiplier, or maybe crit chance. Okay, but you always normally want to have the base affix for the said skill on the said weapon. Okay, you took anything from this, get as much base damage as you can. Now I just quickly want to talk about crit. So you'll see on this wand, increased critical strike chance. On this one, we have increased spell critical strike chance. And then on this sword, melee critical strike chance. So you're going to see 3 different crit affixes. And just like this melee dagger, this one will give all crit an increase. So all of your skills will have a better crit chance, but it's going to be a lower roll. Whereas this one's going to have a higher roll for spells, which means you can get better crit chance on spells. And on this one, same thing, better crit chance on melee. So if you are only a spellcaster, you would want to focus on spell critical strike chance or just regular critical strike chance. And on the flip side of that, melee critical strike chance if you're a fighter, or base crit. So now at this point, you should have a good understanding on tooltip DPS, how that works, and how you scale your skills to make them stronger. Hopefully you understood what I was talking about when focusing on base damage and then percentages and trying to get combos, also understanding how crit works, but there is still more. At some point, you're going to be like, this is too close of a call. I don't know if this weapon is better. Or I don't know if this node on the skill is better. I don't know if these passives are going to help me or hurt me. And that's when you need to test them. And a lot of people don't know that inside of Last Epoch, yes, there is a place you could go to test out your damage. They do offer training dummies. Over here in Hyboria, or however you say it, in the Divine Era, when you click on this, you will see over here, this is where I'm at right now, you have the Champion's Gate. See that? The Champion's Gate right here. And when you go to the Champion's Gate, you will see they have multiple training dummies. Yes, they are all over the place. And you could pick where you want to train and which configuration of enemies. I always recommend one enemy, and I like this one with the little lit up fire torch. And normally when you are testing your skills, you want as much control as humanly possible. So you don't want skills triggering skills and having everything going off at once. You want to focus on one skill and see how it does. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at Maelstrom. And literally, you don't have to click anything. You just go up to the dummy and you could start attacking it. Right now, we are just going to stack, I don't know, 14, 15 stacks of Maelstrom, and we'll see where we're at damage-wise. All right, so right now we're at 16 stacks, and we do about, we'll round up, it's about 2,000 damage, 1980. Like, pretty accurate, okay? Oh, we got an extra stack, so it went up to 2104, okay? Pretty consistent, pretty easy to see, nice and controlled. Now I found this, so we're gonna take off our weapons, and I found this staff. This is a cold staff. And we're gonna put this on because I don't know what's better, my dual wield or a two-hander. So let's see if Maelstrom is better now. And we're gonna do the exact same experiment. We're gonna build up our stacks. 12, 13, 14, 15, and we are at 16. And as you can see, right now we are doing 2974. And really we were at 1950 for most of the time. So using this new weapon, oh, now we're over 3,000. We're gonna get 1,000 more damage. And in this example, that's a 33% increase, right? So you know that if Maelstrom was your jam and that's what you were focused on, well, we know that this new weapon is better than the previous two. So hopefully this video helped you a little bit. I know it's basic. If you have comments, if you have questions, hit me up in Discord, hit me up in the comment section. This is really supposed to be a basic on how you scale your damage inside of Last Epoch. Hopefully you were entertained or at least learned something. Aaron, out.